How's the Detroit Sports Podcast going?
This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
You guys keep up the good work, man. Podcasts are the way of the future.
Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for downloading the latest edition of the DocNJock podcast. I think, like everybody else, everybody has Lions fatigue, so we're not going to start this podcast off breaking down the Detroit Lions. All I'll say is this. It only took 9 weeks to figure out our head coach is probably a fraud. And it's been revealed through basic questions from the media, what we saw in that game on the road versus the Bears. Adam and I will definitely break it down in the second half of the podcast. I just want to kind of enjoy the first half talking about a team that's actually probably on the verge of some major success. Joining me, as always, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? What's going down?
Did you hear about Dan Gilbert selling Greektown or his stake in Greektown casinos for $1 billion? My question to you, is this the first move to spur him buying, I don't know, the Detroit Tigers or, I don't know, maybe the Detroit Lions so they become relevant and good? Or, I don't know, I mean, Chris Ilitch isn't going to sell the Red Wings, but him maybe buying a sports team in downtown Detroit?
That's likely. I think the scenario in which a guy that has an entity that's probably profitable, doing good, having a casino is always a good thing. But for everybody that doesn't know, in order to own the Detroit Tigers, you got to sell your interest in the casinos. But it's just one of those situations in which, why would you want to buy the Detroit Tigers at this point in time in their franchise? And if you're Chris Ilitch, I mean, if you ride it out, you can definitely, even in the sports market, just basically it's kind of like when you observe sports franchises, every 5 years basically go up $500 million. And if you can put forth a winner, I think it would behoove Chris Ilitch to kind of hold on, build a winner, go through the rebuild, and then maybe sell it in 3 years for $3.8 billion. Because everything, when you look at the Cowboys, the Lions, it's just up, 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 and up. So if you're Chris Ilitch, it's a good sign, but I would hold on and kind of maybe drive up the price and maybe just get one more bidder that might be interested, and then you can get that bidding war, and then you can max out maybe if the Tigers can actually get to the postseason, maybe even at $4 billion in 10 years.
See, I don't know if Chris Ilitch wants to keep the Detroit Tigers. Like, he is a hockey guy. He is totally invested in the Detroit Red Wings. When it comes to the baseball team, I think he takes a very hands-off approach. I don't think it's his thing. I feel like he enjoys the baseball product and he enjoys having the baseball team there, but it's not his pride and joy. I think the Red Wings are his pride and joy. I think he's more invested in what they do day in, day out. It really, to me, it feels like with the Ilitch family, the Detroit Tigers were his father's thing. It was his father's toy. It was his goal, because you have to remember, Mike Ilitch did play minor league baseball. He was a baseball fan, so buying the Tigers for him was very near and dear to his heart. And I think the Tigers winning a World Series was always the end goal for him. That's why you've seen him push in so heavy and try to go out and get big names like Prince Fielder, brought Miguel Cabrera here, and he had no problem spending millions upon millions of dollars every single season to try to get a winner here. I don't think Chris Ilitch looks at that team the same way. I think he's like, okay, cool, it's a business investment, it's there. If I can make some money, cool, let's do it. And it's just how I feel he looks at it. So this could be, it really could be Dan Gilbert's first move to make that purchase, make that acquisition. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if that's the real reason, but it's interesting. And I think it was worth bringing up and discussing for a quick second.
Simple advice from the DOC, leave the Tigers alone, buy the Lions. Because we're going to be trying this week on the podcast to break it down regarding what's going on with the Lions. On Thursday, the day this episode drops, I'm going to be trying to rescue one Detroit Lions fan who officially divorced the Detroit Lions, and she became a Chiefs fan.
Good for her.
And I saw that story, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. You are not allowed to break free from the cycle that is the Detroit Lions. We'll try to rescue her, bring her back in the fold, and let her suffer with the rest of us. That's not acceptable. The Lions cannot drive away their fans. The Chiefs, I can't wait to have that conversation. You can find all the other podcasts here. I think it'll be part of the Check the Report podcast on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Anywhere that you can find podcasts, you can find the great content that we got here. But to start the podcast, it's getting ever so close, cuz everybody's getting ready. This week, this Saturday, by all accounts, is going to be a cupcake. Michigan is going to destroy Indiana by 20 points or more.
Wait,
you should go
Rutgers
right through.
Was supposed to be a cupcake, too, and they didn't hang 78 on Rutgers.
Hey.
I was disappointed, actually.
I think the funny part on Twitter was everyone was like, Michigan should be excluded from the playoff for giving up a touchdown to Rutgers.
Yeah.
An 80-yard touchdown.
Dude, they got gashed on like 3 big plays. I was like, what the hell's going on here? Are these guys just disinterested? How? How is this happening? It's Rutgers, for Pete's sake. What's going on?
But we promised a deep dive into the Michigan Wolverines, and here it is. You're about 10 days away now from the main event. Everything that everybody's been looking forward to this year. It will be the culmination of a great season. Likely Michigan will come in with a 10-game winning streak. It'll be Michigan versus Ohio State for all the marbles in Columbus, and everybody's talking about it because the reason why everyone's excited is, should Michigan play solidly and walk away from Columbus with that victory, barring unforeseen circumstances, and we'll talk about it, Michigan will punch their ticket into the playoff. And I know you got to go to Indy and things like that, and you got to kind of pay it off, but I do think that if Michigan plays Northwestern or Wisconsin,
it'll be Northwestern. They're playing Northwestern.
There's not going to be a situation in which they're going to lose that game. So you look at it and you go, this is for all the marbles. Michigan, Ohio State, and everybody's excited. And I think that when you look at Michigan, they're playing a great brand of football. Quality defense. Shea Patterson's getting a little bit better. Donovan Peoples-Jones is emerging. And a guy that we had sit here in our office, Karan Higdon, is a guy that you can count on, an underrated running back nationally, a guy that you can hand the ball off to, you can control the game, and it allows you, with a revamped offensive line, to do what you want to do at Michigan football. So it shapes up for Michigan to have a strength that is a weakness of Ohio State, the running game. And so Michigan fans should be excited. Are you? Are you getting a little bit nervous or excited heading into one of the big contests in the era of Jim Harbaugh?
Dude, I can't wait for Ohio State. Like, I honestly, I can't. Normally, I dreaded this game. The last couple years, it's always been a big one. You look at the calendar and you're like, all right, cool. Maybe we can get there and be competitive, be relative. Hopefully we don't get blown out. And you just always wish for a decent game. No, man. I can't wait for Ohio State. Can't wait. I want to go into the horseshoe and I want to pile drive them. I want to crush them. I hate Urban Meyer. I hate everything that Ohio State stands for. They're like the dirtiest program ever. Did you see that new report by Brett McMurphy? Holy shit, man. Seriously. How the hell does the Big Ten allow, and they, believe me, guys, they allow Ohio State to just run amok. They turned a blind eye to everything stupid Ohio State does. Why? Because it's Ohio State. How does the Big Ten allow a team like them to be above the law and to go ahead and just do stupid, ignorant, dumb things that get you compared with a college football organization like the SEC? How? Why? Because Jim Delaney's a freaking boob. I hate Jim Delaney. Maybe I hate him more than I hate Ohio State. I'm not really sure. But I can't wait to take on Ohio State. I want to crush them. I want to beat them so bad, dude. I honestly hope. And after watching the Michigan State game, I watched all of that game. All of it. We're going to talk about Michigan State after we get done with Michigan. But I watched all of that game. Ohio State doesn't scare me. Putty sat there and sent me a text message. And he was like, is Ohio State really this bad? And I said, yeah, dude. Yeah, they're shit. I was like, their quarterback is the best thing they've got going. Haskins is amazing. Haskins would be outstanding in this Michigan offense. But what they run in Columbus, he does not fit. He does not do things well that you need that quarterback to do. He just doesn't. It doesn't work. He'd be amazing here in Michigan. Believe me, he would be. They can't get their run game going. Their defense is awful. It's porous. Now, I know they held Michigan to only 6 points, And yeah, that their punter had a hell of a game after getting his first punt off for only 4 yards. But geez Louise, dude, they're a mess. And it all starts with their head coach. Their head coach has been incredibly sloppy at doing everything he normally does. And that's why everything is on display right now. You've got Zach Smith on Twitter just sitting there calling out other coaches, calling out Tom Herman over there in Texas. And Tom Herman's like, all right, bro, whatever, hook 'em horns. I don't care. Nobody's buying what you're selling. And I'm probably sure there's a lot of truth to what Zach Smith is saying, but he's an idiot. I mean, let's just be honest. He's an idiot. Can't wait to take down Ohio State. I see this being Urban Meyer's last stand. I see him all of a sudden, oh, my heart, my head. I don't feel so good. My family needs me. I got to get out of coaching because the posse's getting hot and they're coming and they're nipping on his heels right now. So don't be surprised if you see Urban when Michigan takes on Ohio State. Don't be surprised if that's one of his last games, honestly.
Now, those that are excited about Michigan's opportunity to potentially get into the playoff, are you nervous at all? Because people are putting out the scenario in which maybe Georgia beats Alabama, and maybe then the committee will then include Alabama and dismiss Michigan. Are you scared that Michigan could reach their ultimate goals, win a bunch of games this year, and still not make the playoff? Because I don't think Alabama's going to lose, but Tua's hurt. Issues with the knee, the offense has slowed down a little bit. Georgia could go up there and handle some business. So are you scared at all that Michigan could be excluded even though they might be a one-loss team?
You have to have some of that concern. And I tried explaining this to a guy at work the other day, and I'm like, look, man, you need to be an Alabama fan right now. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you need to root for Alabama. He's like, why? I was like, you do realize Georgia has one loss. And if Georgia goes and pops Alabama, they're automatically in. Like, Clemson is going nowhere. They're going to be a 2 seed. If Georgia goes and beats Alabama, they'll be locked in because they're going to be the SEC champ. They'll be your first team in. Clemson will be your second team. Then you've got Notre Dame. So what you need is you either need Notre Dame to lose or you need the committee to look favorably on you. Because what's going to end up happening is if Georgia beats Alabama, they're in at number 1. Clemson's number 2. Notre Dame goes in at number 3. Now it's between a one-loss Alabama team who has been destroying teams, like absolutely destroying them. And this is when style points really matter. And you need Michigan to go out there, and you need them to hang crooked numbers on a team like Rutgers. I was disappointed that they only scored 42 points. I needed something in the 50s, maybe more. I was hoping for 78, didn't get it. I was really upset by this, all right? You need to hang crooked numbers on teams like Rutgers and Indiana, and then when you go play Northwestern, if you get by Ohio State, or when you get by Ohio State, you need to beat them so severely they come out looking like your redheaded stepchild. Like, honestly, you have to beat them that bad because style points are going to come into play here. And Alabama has run amok on just about everybody. I believe this week they're taking on Citadel. You're like, who? Yeah, exactly. They get this late season bye week with their scheduling because they always schedule some cupcake just before their final week of the season. You need to go out and you need to handle your business and beat teams because if it comes down to a one-loss Alabama team getting in or you as a one-loss Michigan team, the committee's going to favor Alabama. It just is. I mean, who has been tried and true, who has been the best team in all of college football over, the last decade? It's been Alabama. Alabama has been the best and most dominant team in all of college football. Also, go back to the beginning of the season. Beginning of the season, they were trucking teams, absolutely crushing them. While Michigan couldn't get out of their own way over there in South Bend, Alabama was handling business. So don't get it twisted. You need to be an Alabama fan right now, and you should have some concern. Now, all that being said, I think Alabama's going to handle Georgia. I think they'll beat Georgia. Georgia's got a very good team. Georgia has proven that they can be beat, right? LSU beat them. Look what Alabama did to Georgia. And I just think Alabama will take care of the business that they have to take care of, so I'm not necessarily super concerned. It does play in the back of my mind, though. But it's like, here's my forethought, and then here's whatever's going on in the middle of my brain. Usually it's something that's pornographic. It's just the way my brain works. I don't know. It's what happens. And then here's what's going on in the back of my brain. There's like two birds sitting in a tree, and they're just kind of talking to each other. And then way back here, back here, that's where Georgia beating Alabama is. So I'm not really all that concerned. but it does sit in my brain. And Michigan has to be concerned. Michigan fans should be concerned. You've got to be concerned about it because it's a very real possibility. If Notre Dame gets by Syracuse this week, mind you, Syracuse is, I believe, they're number 12 right now. They're playing at a neutral site. They're playing at Yankee Stadium, I think. If Notre Dame gets by them, no trip-ups, it's going to be a tough road for Michigan because everything is going to come down to you beating Ohio State, and it's going to come down to Georgia and Alabama. So you're going to need Alabama to win out. You're going to need Michigan to handle their business against OSU, and you're going to have the committee look favorably upon you in order to sit there and guarantee that you're in.
I will say this. If Michigan does not get into the playoff, you probably will never see Michigan schedule Notre Dame again because you just got to schedule Louisiana Tech or you got to schedule schedule a team that's going to be a cupcake.
Man.
Yeah,
cupcakes.
Because that loss will be one of the biggest losses in program history, and you go, wow, Alabama's scheduling cupcakes, everybody's scheduling cupcakes. If Michigan would have been undefeated, then they definitely would have been in. And it's unfortunate for college football that that's the way they're doing it, but that's what you got to do. You got to play the game. And this is a big game for Michigan because, things are setting up nicely, a down Big Ten. But remember, Ohio State, it's going to be in Columbus. They're going to try to do their absolute best. It's going to be a slobber knocker game, and I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think it might be one of those games where the final few possessions are going to be so exciting, so buckle up. Now, if it all plays to form and Michigan wins and they get a chance, let's talk about it because everybody now is starting to kind of around the water cooler go, okay, you know what, Michigan, they're running the ball well, supreme defense, Shea Patterson's the quarterback that all Michigan fans kind of want, can control the game, is athletic, can extend plays, his stats show that he's got 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, is running the offense that Jim Harbaugh would like. But how does that translate nationally? Even a bigger goal. How does it translate? What would they look like against Clemson? What would it look like as it stands if it was Michigan versus Alabama on the national stage in the semifinal? And right now, the kind of early talk and returns are that, and everybody poo-poos it, I think, around here, is like, you know what? We'd be thrilled. Michigan fans would be thrilled to get to the playoff, but beat Alabama, that's maybe something that maybe Michigan fans and nationally people aren't ready to accept. But I'll say this, being that I don't want it to happen, I obviously want Michigan to lose. I want them to lose to Indiana, actually, in epic fashion. Part of me was like, man, if they lost to Rutgers, that'd be awesome. But if they lost to Indiana or they lose to Ohio State or something happens along the way that derails it, that would be great. I'd love it. Everybody knows that. But if Michigan is on a roll, beats Ohio State, gets some titles, has success in Indy, defense travels. And if you can punch Alabama in the mouth, I'm not going to sit here and say that Alabama would destroy Michigan. They probably are a betting favorite to win the game. But if you can get a couple turnovers and keep the game in the style in which Michigan is accustomed to, hold the ball, keep Tua and Alabama's offense off the field, and you could win maybe a 17-14 kind of game if the defense shows up and can be attacking. I like Michigan's defense against Alabama's offense with a slightly injured Tua. Now, if they're running full bore and everything is great in Alabama, it might be a little tough, but I'm not dismissing Michigan's chances because I'm a guy that says defense wins championships, and what Michigan's defense is doing is not just, something that you should take lightly. Their defense, led by Chase Winovich, is doing some things. They pressure people. They don't give up a ton of big plays. And so I think Michigan, if they got to the college football playoff, could make some noise versus Alabama, and I think it's a game you want to see because it's a litmus test. No matter what you may say about Nick Saban and, the cupcakes that he schedules, Alabama is a litmus test to where you are as a program, and Michigan should go up there and do it. Now, Michigan State took the test, and they bombed historically, and they went back and said, screw it, we're not going to get back in the arena anymore. Michigan, I think, needs this test versus Alabama. See where you're at, because that's what you guys want. You want to play with the big boys, so let's go dance, and let's see what you can do. But I don't dismiss it. I don't think that Alabama would destroy Michigan in that game.
I don't think they will either. And you said it's because of the defense. I think it's because of the offense. The one thing Alabama is vulnerable against is big plays. They give up a lot of splash plays. They get gashed in the run. They have given up 6 runs, I think maybe 7 runs of 30-plus yards this season. On top of that, over 30 passes of 20-plus yards. All right? That ranks them at 70th and 73rd in the nation last time I checked. So that's not very good. You look at what Michigan has on offense. You brought up Cron Higdon, right? He's a guy who can break it loose, and he can get you 30 yards in a blink. You got Chris Evans, same deal. You've seen him take off this past week against Rutgers. He left everybody in the dust. That was just supposed to be a halfback dive, just a simple play right up the middle. Next thing you know, he squirts through the hole, and that guy is off. He's gone. All right, good luck catching him. Look at what you got with a guy like Shea Patterson. Shea Patterson is starting to come into his own. He's evolving as a quarterback. He's evolving in this offense. You bring back a guy like Tariq Black. Tariq Black is your deep threat. He's your big play guy. He's probably the most athletic guy you have on this team. You're getting him back. He's going to be healthy. He's pretty fresh. You look at how Donovan Peoples-Jones has really come around. Last year, I was very critical on him. He was supposed to be this guy who was going to come in, was going to almost revolutionize the wide receiver position. You didn't really see it. You had some gadget plays. You had a couple things that happened down the field with him. You really didn't see what he could deliver. And whether that was because of who the quarterback was, or it was the way they utilized him, or just the offense they were running. But you're seeing it this year. You're seeing it this year. Every time he touches the ball, he has the potential for a big play. So you've got running backs. You've got wide receivers. You've got a quarterback who I think everybody who wears maize and blue feels confident in. You feel comfortable with. The big plays are there. They just have to complete them. That offensive line is getting better every single game. The biggest issue with this team was in game one was with that offensive line. That offensive line was brutal. Absolutely brutal. Look at them now. They've evolved. This offense has evolved. It is much, much better now than it was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks ago. It's so much further along, and it's so much further on schedule and on task and on pace for what you want. I think this offense could be the difference if they got paired up against Alabama. It'd be a really interesting matchup. I don't think Michigan gets blown out either. Now, do they win? I'm not sure. It depends on the health of Tua. Because if Tua's hurt, it could be a different story. And all that being said, their backup quarterback's no slouch either. And look, Hurts is a running quarterback, and that generally gives fits to Michigan programs. I don't know if it gives fits to this Michigan program. I'm just not sure. That defense is too good.
Do you want a rematch versus Notre Dame? Do you want to take the skills that Michigan possess and maybe even play Clemson? Is it something where you want to see Michigan face someone else and maybe face Alabama in the title game?
If I had my druthers, right, and you said you get one of these games, and that's the only game you get, and you can pick where you get to play this game, but you don't get to pick the outcome of the game, I would pick Michigan versus Notre Dame for the championship. I want to see that game. That being said, I don't care if they get paired up with Alabama or Clemson. I would prefer it because I know that they're going to win that game, and I would love to see how they match up. Does that make sense? Like, I want to see how Michigan goes up against Alabama. Alabama has been the best in college football for, the last 10 years, maybe more. Alabama has been a dynasty, an absolute dynasty. I want to see how the new kid on the block fares. We've seen what happened when Michigan State was the new kid on the block. They got punched in the mouth and they had their lunch money taken. And then they went home and cried to mom. I want to see if it's the same for Michigan. I want to see if Michigan gets punched in the mouth, if they punch back, if they kick back, if they take their lunch money back. I want to see that. And I want them to go on, and I want them to play Notre Dame. I want Notre Dame so damn bad. I want to avenge the one loss on this record. I want them to match up, and I want them to play again because I think it'll be a hell of an entertaining game. I thought it was an entertaining game the first time they played. I was frustrated, but I thought it was an entertaining game. I think it'd be an entertaining game the second time they play because they're so totally different now than they were back then.
One final thought before we address Michigan State and whatever the hell's going on over there in East Lansing. Now, we're talking about matchups for Michigan in the playoff. We're talking about reaching the ultimate success, getting to Indy, making some memories, and actually putting some hardware in the trophy case. But now,
putting the cart before the horse here, aren't we?
Yes, we have to talk about it because you have to go to Columbus. You have to win the game. And we spoke earlier, assuming that they do. But let's say it's a game, it's a close-fought contest. Ohio State makes the key plays, and they end up winning the game. And all your dreams are dashed, and they go on, and they get to handle their business. They go on to Indy, and Michigan's left with a 2-loss season. How would you react? Would you then, because people are starting to say, you know what, a lot of Michigan fans would just then be really upset, really frustrated because this is a team that could have super high aspirations. And the question and the thought that people would have is, what's really changed? In big games, in the biggest of moments, you don't pass the test. Would it be devastating if Michigan lost to Ohio State year 4, because you're getting a taste of what Harbaugh can do, but you're going to lose some talented individuals next year. You can't just assume they're going to ramp up again every single year. You're not Alabama just yet. This is a special season. If they lose to Ohio State, does it take the shine off of Jim Harbaugh, and is it a really bad loss for the program?
It's a bad loss for the program. I don't think it takes any shine off of what the season has become, because I don't know if I think I might have been the only one who had grand expectations for this season, and that was from last year. Remember last year when we were talking about this at the end of the year? What are your expectations for year 4? And you're like, I don't think you get there. I think you're probably going to be second, maybe third in the Big Ten. And I said, you better be first. Like, you better be. Like, I don't know what you expect. You better be first. And here we are in first place. So I don't know if it takes shine off of what Jim Harbaugh has done, but it's a devastating loss because Ohio State's a mess right now. Like, they've never been more ripe for the picking. You need to go into the horseshoe and you need to pop them in the mouth, and you need to take your lunch money back. Like, how many times are you going to keep getting beat up for it by this bully, by Urban Meyer, and all the fraudulent things he does and all the fraudulent things he tells kids? How long? They don't have a run game. They've struggled to use Mike Weber. They really have. Haskins is great, but Haskins has struggled in that offense. That defense, since Bosa left, I think they've checked out. They're like, all right, cool. We're just going to kind of go through the paces here. Whatever's whatever. If it happens, it happens. Cool. If not, no sweat off our sack. And that's kind of where OSU is right now. So you need to go in there and you need to beat them. It would be absolutely devastating. And this game's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. 1, because it's a rival. 2, they absolutely hate you. You hate them. It's what it is. I can't stand OSU. Like, I have people who come to my first job in the morning and they wear OSU gear. I'm just like, ugh. I got a chick who's pretty hot that I work with at the radio station. She wears OSU gear, and I'm just like, man, you'd be so much hotter without that on, and then without that on. You know what I'm saying? Look, the game's on the road. You know they don't play real well on the road. You know, they're 1 loss this year on the road at Notre Dame. They sat there, had a really close fought game against Northwestern at Ryan Field. Were lucky enough to eke that win out and come away with it. That was a really, really sloppy game for Michigan. Wasn't very good. Now, things kind of straightened up against Michigan State, but go back and rewatch that game. That was a really, really close game for about 2.5, maybe 3 quarters, and then Michigan kind of started getting the ball in the end zone. But forever and a day, they controlled the pace of play. They controlled the entire game. They just couldn't score. So the scoreboard was really, really close for most of that game. And then you go to Rutgers, and you ended up getting gashed on 3 monster runs. You gave up a touchdown to Northwestern, or to Rutgers. Like, you didn't hang 70. We all expected 70 points. I was really surprised that the starter stayed in that long. So the road has been an issue for Jim Harbaugh. It has been an issue for his Michigan teams. So it's going to be a tough game. There is a real chance that you lose this game. You better not. You better not.
The weekend after Thanksgiving, right after Black Friday, everybody will be settled, have done their shopping, really full, so it's going to be a fun Saturday. I'm off, I think, the next week or so, and I'm going to try my best to get there in front of a TV, and I'm going to go quietly to a bar, watch the game, and I will be quiet. I will not cheer if Michigan messes up, but I'll be inside going, man, this is great. They're right there. Their prize is right there in front of them, and I hope Ohio State just takes you guys to Pound Town.
Dude, can I tell you, I wanted to go. So I've already have plans to watch this game with a buddy of mine.
Okay.
Maybe a couple other friends. I'm not sure who's going to all show up. Anyways, we're going to go watch this game, and my game plan was just to get, like, obnoxious drunk. Like, just have a day off, not have to worry about doing stuff on Sunday, because that week we've got the Lions game on Thursday. I was supposed to do a 3-hour tailgate show for the Lions. Apparently my boss has different ideas and a different vision because, I don't know, he doesn't understand this market. But whatever.
So no Thursday tailgate, 3 hours?
No. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm just going to take my ball and go home. I told Ryan, I was like, look, it's up to you. We can do a 1-hour show if you want. I really don't want to come in. I really don't want to do it because it was 3 hours or it was nothing. And
gotcha.
Ryan's like...
For Thursday, the day of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, day of Thanksgiving. And Ryan's like, well, we should probably do a show. And I'm like, fuck it. I don't want to do a show. And he was like, we should probably do it. And I was like, fine, whatever you want. So I think we're going to do a show, but I want to take my ball and go home. I was really pissed because dude, been planning stuff for like 3 weeks now. We like confirmed this a month ago, and now things change. Anyways, I digress.
Oh, no!
That's right, Dan Miller. Oh, no. I was like, so we probably shouldn't do a show that Sunday because there's no Lions game. Why are we going to do a show that Sunday? It doesn't make any sense. Nobody's going to be listening that day. They'll listen on Thanksgiving because freaking Lions game on. Hello, dummy. But no, you guys should do one on that Sunday. So I was kind of pissed. So now I got to kind of keep the genie in the bottle during that Michigan OSU game, and I'm kind of annoyed about it. So thanks for letting me vent.
No problem. Now,
hey, if you have a boss and they're a boob, call us. What's the phone number? Call us. Tell us about them. Let me know that I'm not the only one who has boobs for bosses.
now, speaking of boobs,
I like them.
Yes.
Except when they're my boss.
You go over and you start looking at what Ohio State...
oh, I love the segue. Look at you.
You go over and you start evaluating what Michigan State's doing, and it's just all bad. And I'm going to reserve the passion for the Lions because I got a lot to talk about.
I was wondering where we're going to go with titties here, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love what you did there. Antonio is a boob.
It's all bad, man. It's all bad. LJ Scott's coming back for another year. Thumbs down.
Can I tell you, when I seen this break, right, it came across on my phone. I seen a break, and Big Drew, Jim, and Fongers and I, we all have a group message, right? We just kind of go back and forth, especially on weekends when things are going on. And I seen this come across, and I popped into the group message, and I was like, so the redshirting LJ Scott, what is this, like his 6th season or whatever? On the rundown sheet, I've got his 76th season. It feels like he's been here forever. I was like, why won't he just go away? Like, why can't LJ Scott just go away? Nobody wants to see LJ Scott anymore. Nobody.
What the fuck?
Yes, that's what I thought. I was like, Jesus Christ, come on, man. What is going on here? This guy in his 87 parking tickets redshirting for his 76th year.
Oh, come on!
Right? Go away, LJ Scott. Nobody wants you. Nobody.
So it's just a terrible thing. And then the nonsense that's coming away from the Michigan State loss to Ohio State. Look, you look at it and you go, the offense is terrible. It's in shambles. The defense is keeping you in games, but there's so many mistakes. It's just unreal to see how Michigan State has progressed in 2018. And the offense is terrible. They're not doing well. Ohio State comes in and basically handles your business. You made a lot of mistakes. And then you look at it and you go, Mark D'Antonio and that coaching staff doesn't know who the best quarterback is on that team. Brian Lewerke's hurt. And Brian Lewerke's not playing to the capability that we all expected of him. No matter what you want to say, whether he's hurt or not, what we saw in 2017 is not the same as what we're seeing now. 2017, he was efficient. He moved the ball. The offense looked a lot better. You won 10 games. He looked like he had spirit, passion. The offense was doing some things. This version of the Spartan team just kind of looks like, well, we got hurt. We're checked out. We'll have 4 losses. No big deal. It's just, it's for Spartan supporters, it makes you go, wow, we've taken a step back now in the Big Ten. Can we get it back? And if Mark D'Antonio is stubborn and not willing to make changes, I think the hope is gone that Michigan State can come back and play with the big boys. So right now, the fan base is firmly behind Rocky Lombardi, but he even made some mistakes. And so what I'm looking for is a complete overhaul of that offensive unit, figure out how to bring in coaches that will bring you up to speed to 2018 and play a little bit faster. I mean, people are using the excuse, and Mark D'Antonio is even using the excuse of injuries. Well, you had your allotment of talent that was there for the Arizona State game, and you still went out and lost. So here's the problem. The problem is you have this stubbornness to want to run the football. Well, here's the problem, okay? And it also relates to things that happen with the Detroit Lions. You know, defenders and defensive coordinators can figure out, okay, if we want to, make your quarterback beat you, we'll load up in the box and we'll make the quarterback beat you. So if it's not working, then what do? What happens is Michigan State goes, okay, we'll just recant and we'll continue to stuff it down the people's throats and try to go first down run, second down run, third and 9. And at some point, you have to recognize in a game that you have to abandon the run and run and gun it. If you have a passing quarterback, accept what you are. And in some situations now, especially with offensive football the way it is, it's a passing sport. A running game can be utilized through screens, can be utilized through different measures, but if you're just going to hand the ball off and have the guy, halfback rush and get half a yard, it's, there's too many times we've seen this as Spartan supporters that you're putting yourself in 3rd and long and you're not able to effectively, play at the level that is expected in 2018. Just compare Alabama, Clemson to what Michigan State's doing. It's night and day. And it's disappointing across the board because I think that you got some young talent, Connor Haywood. You got some good talent at quarterback, but the coaching the coaching in 2018 has really been disappointing. I just think that Mark D'Antonio has peaked and he's got to revamp things similar to what Michigan did, but I don't know if he's going to do it. The talk is that he's stubborn and he might not go out and blow people out. Jim Bowman and Dave Warner are just inadequate to do the job, and the talk is right now that they're not maybe going to make those changes. I sure hope they do, because if they don't, you're going to be seeing 3 and 4 loss seasons every single year because you're not getting the talent that you once did. And you look at it and you go, once they're now here, they're not performing, they're not progressing. That's a real bad sign.
And more to your point, what you said about doing what I would call pseudo runs, right? Doing the bubble screens, doing the halfback passes out of the backfield, getting your running back or getting your wide receivers involved on short passing routes that then turn into yak yards down the field. That's a great way to sit there and break down a team that is stacking the box, like you said. You can't always just do a halfback dive because they've got 8 guys filling the box. So what do? You look to your wide receiver out there. You flip him the ball. Next thing you know, he's doing what Golden Tate does. He picks up 5 yards. 5 yards turns into 10. 10 maybe turns into 15. Next thing you know, you're moving the ball. On top of that, the defense now has to respect that. So what do? They leak one of those corners out. They leak one of those safeties out. They leak a linebacker out. Next thing you know, it opens up things in the run game. And if you're the offensive coordinator or you're Mark D'Antonio and you don't realize this, you're what you said. You're a boob. You are a boob. The one thing you have to be able to do, though, is you have to be able to throw the ball with your quarterback. Why they keep running out Brian Lewerke, I don't know. I don't understand it. Brian Lewerke is hurt, okay? You can see it every time he drops back to throw the football. He can't hit a wide receiver. He couldn't hit the broadside of a red barn. He can't. He can't throw a ball, and he can't throw it accurately. Why not put a guy out there like Rocky Lombardi, who looks like he has a little bit of swagger, who looks like he can do some things? I know one thing. I know Rocky Lombardi can throw a freaking football because I seen him zip the ball. It was a 7-yard crossing route, and he threw it with so much mustard, it hit the wide receiver's hands and went flying up in the air 15 yards. So I know the dude can throw the ball. Maybe he has to work on a little bit of touch, but he can throw the football. Forces the defense to have to respect that. When Lewerke's in there, they don't have to respect it.
And cuz, what do people say? If you're playing 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have a quarterback.
You have no quarterback.
You put in Rocky Lombardi, then you pull him out again. What does that send? What message does that send to him? He's getting pissed off having to answer these questions. Look, just you know what? Once you started to lose to Arizona State and you're starting to rack up losses, once Michigan was able to defeat you in your barn, then that's it. Start Rocky Lombardi. Let's kickstart 2019 off, see what he can do, and just say, look, Brian, sorry, you know what? Unfortunately, you did lose your job to injury, and let's see what Rocky can do. But unfortunately, going back and forth is the sign of terrible coaching because you can never do that. I mean, tell me a time when it's worked where a major big-time program plays 2 quarterbacks. I mean, come on now. Stick with Rocky Lombardi and see what he can do.
The only time I've ever seen it work is last year in the national championship game. And you've seen what happened there, right? Jalen Hurts was sucking it up the whole first half. They come out with Tua. Next thing you know, Tua's lighting it up. And you know what? You go into this year, and what happened? Tua is your number 1 QB. Tua is your guy.
Michigan State, make changes. Acknowledge the mistakes and move forward. Allocate some funds to some guys with talent. Go look at Central Florida. Go look at coaches from Central Florida. Go look at coaches from offenses that are innovative, that score a bunch of points, and bring them here. You can get back to prominence. It won't take that much. But if you're going to roll out these same coaches, the friends of Mark D'Antonio, it's going to be the same nonsense year in, year out. And you're going to start losing supporters because at this point in time, you're farther away from the national title in Indy than you probably ever were. And it's really bad.
And that's really what it is. At this point right now.
Far away. You're staring away from Indy.
It's the stubbornness. It's friends of Mark D'Antonio. You're now in a hole where, like you said, you're far away. You're looking on. I don't understand why Rocky Lombardi is not the starting quarterback, why you're going to run Brian Lewerke out there every single week. It doesn't make sense to me. On top of it, like you said, if you're Rocky Lombardi, what does this do to your confidence? And the position of quarterback is a position that should be played with swagger, should be played with the guy who feels like he's got the biggest dick on the field.
Right.
You need that out there. You need that guy out there. Why are you going to sit there, play Lewerke, pull him, put Lombardi in? Lombardi's not getting it done, or you're calling stupid plays in your own end zone where the ball is bouncing off of wide receivers who are in motion. The hell's going on here? That's not Lombardi's fault. That's not his fault. but you're going to pull him and sit him like it is? The hell are we doing? That's your fault. You're calling these plays. That's dumb coaching, man. Who does that? Who? I'll tell you who. Mark D'Antonio, the guy who's so damn stubborn and can't get out of his own way. Look, bro, you're a hell of a football coach. A hell of a football coach. I said for years I would love for you to coach my program. I would have loved it if Michigan could have poached you and brought you over. But you are so damn stubborn. You get in your own way, you hurt your team, and you shoot yourself in the foot. You need to be a little bit more flexible. Go look at what the gymnasts are doing at Michigan State when they're not getting diddled by Larry Nassar. They're all flexible, bro. Was it too soon for that? Might be too soon. I don't know. Sorry. Look at what they're doing. Honestly, look at what they're doing. They're flexible. Be flexible. It's okay to give up some of whatever you feel has made you great as you've come along. It's okay. You have to evolve. If you don't evolve, you die. Your program is dying right now.
Dying in 2018 with a lack of offense, which is really weird in an age of offense. And being a Spartan and a Lions supporter, it's really tough. Now we'll take a deep dive looking at the Detroit Lions right after this quick timeout. Stay with us. Adam, let me tell you about one of the great sponsors of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, the Motor City Pawnbrokers. The Motor City Pawnbrokers are the one-stop pawn shop when you're in need of short-term cash or are looking for quality brand name, new, and pre-owned merchandise. With locations in Detroit, Ferndale, Roseville, and Warren, their mission is to deliver exceptional value. Go check out MotorCityPawnbrokers.com.
AJ Styles was not so phenomenal the other night. Something else not phenomenal. The Lions, go.
Okay, here we go.
You like that lead-in?
Great lead-in. Here's why the fan base is fucking pissed. They're annoyed. They're divorcing the Detroit Lions. They're not patient. The fans do not want to see 3 straight losses where you lose by double digits. Not in the age in 2018 of offensive football where you can move the ball, you can take advantage of the defenders. No. Nobody wants to see the Detroit Lions go out there and get their ass kicked week in and week out. Nobody wants to see the $27 million quarterback look like he's checked out and look like he can't avoid a rush, check out of bad plays. Nobody wants to see him get sacked 16 times in 2 weeks. Nobody wants to see that. And so the question is, what's wrong with the team? It's coaching. And it took 9 weeks for Matt Patricia to get exposed. And great. You give him props, you give him applause for his resume. He was out there, but unfortunately, being an assistant is not the same as being a head coach. And I put it right out there. Right away when you saw what happened in that sequence where you take a timeout when you're trying to kick a 55-yard field goal, and then you come back from that and kick a punt, when all you have to do is just take the penalty, when you don't look prepared, I said, this guy's not a rocket scientist. An average person watching goes, why on earth can't you figure out how to establish a field goal kick if you're going to make that decision? And 2, if you needed a timeout, why didn't you then come back and actually kick the damn field goal? So everybody's then looking going, okay, what are you doing with your timeouts? Why are you not maybe, trying to get the ball back and score more points? And then you come back with some cockamamie excuse that makes no sense to anybody. And I don't think he's being intellectually dishonest. I think that he was exposed by the Detroit media this week when he was asked specific in-game situations in which he talked himself sounding like a boob, sounding like a moron. And sometimes you are too smart for the room. Football is a game in which sometimes you can do the basic thing. If you're going to try and kick a 55-yard field goal, you should know if your guy's going to make it. So why isn't the unit ready to go at the time when it needs to go? You have a certain amount of time. What are you practicing week in and week out? Fine. You know what? The minutia of what's going on with the Lions, maybe the first-year head coach is learning on the job. Okay. But the defense is getting gashed week in and week out, and they're not getting any better. They're not playing. The players are not playing for the Lions.
Isn't he a defensive guru?
That's what I thought. I would not believe that it would take 10 weeks plus a training camp to figure out your system. You're supposed to develop a plug-and-play system where you can just trade off a Golden Tate and you can let go of maybe a Darius Slay gets hurt and the next guy up should come in and just look like he knows what he's doing. No, Tease Tabor comes in and he's getting torched. They're like, oh my gosh, Mr. Trubisky lit up the Lions defense. That's definitely frustrating. And on top of that, you look across the league and you go, wow, Eric Ebron's lighting up the league. He's scoring a bunch of touchdowns.
That dude's rushing for touchdowns.
Mitch Trubisky had one of his great performances. When you compare that to what Stafford did, it's night and day. It's embarrassing. And now what has people frustrated is it's a regime that doesn't look like it's going anywhere. It's looked like it's basically took a nosedive, and this season's over. Fine. When you trade Golden Tate, you tell everybody that, but you still got to look like a football team. And that's the part that pisses everybody off is you can't go out there and go out to Chicago and play a team that doesn't have that much talent. You, comparatively speaking, with the offense that you have with Galladay, Marvin Jones, Nick Bellore at fullback trying to get you a yard. Okay, please. You got LeGarrette Blount. And you got a guy that you thought would be the guy that you give the ball to every time it's 3rd and 1. No, you don't do that. So what has people frustrated is the basics of the game. The Lions make look really tough. 3rd and 1, easy. Hand the ball off to LeGarrette Blount. Why is Nick Bellore getting the ball? Nobody knows. Why do the Lions look inept? Nobody knows. And then when you're asked about it, I think here's what's adding fuel to the fire of why people are pissed off. Okay, look. That kind of bullshit coach speak will work in New England. He's got rings. You're Matt Patricia. You're trying to sell us on a program. You're trying to sell the fans that you know what you're doing. And you go out there and you say the same 3 words when you're asked a question. You got to work hard and you got to execute. Well, it's been damn near fucking 10 weeks. Why aren't you working hard? Because your team looks like they've laid down. And why aren't you executing? Why is your first 4 possessions punt, interception? How is that executing and working hard in an age where you look at it, you sit and you watch Monday Night Football with the fellas, you're having some food, and you're like, damn, Nick Mullins and Eli Manning are moving the ball all around, making more plays consecutively than the Lions. How is that possible? In an age where, you know what, when you're trying to sell this fan base that you're doing something, JBC should be fired, and Paul Pasqualoni, he should have been relegated to just stand there with his glasses halfway down and say, look, I'm taking over, because it's not working. And unfortunately, the Lions fans are not patient. They're pissed off. And you got people divorcing the Lions. You got people saying, I'm done. People don't want to do their radio shows. They don't want to go to games. You got, I'm getting emails, being a Spartan alum, come get 35% off to go see Kirk Cousins. I don't want to go fucking down to Ford Field and see Kirk Cousins. I want to see Matthew Stafford. I don't want to go see Trey Waynes. I want to go see Marvin Jones make a play instead of bumble the ball off his hands every time the ball comes to him. I don't want to see that kind of nonsense. And so that's why people are frustrated is that, look, you can lose games 20-17, 23-20, but look competent. Make the simple plays, look like you're working hard, and don't look like a team that's checked out. If you can do that, people will respond. And if you have a bad game, just go out there and be honest with the fans. Don't come out and say the same things, because anybody could just say, I would open up a question and say, look, Matt, we know you're working hard and trying to execute, but why is it that your team looks like it's not paying attention to any of your game plans? I mean, okay, we're trying to work hard and execute. And then you got your quarterback who has regressed and is not playing well. And now it didn't take us, till now to start critiquing Matthew Stafford. We started asking, remember when we asked Josh Kashenstein 3 years ago, dude, when's he going to have a resume? And now people are starting to go, well, let's trade him. Come on. In the NFL, you don't get 7 years. You don't get $400 million in money before you have a resume. And so now people are starting to catch up to the Detroit Sports Podcast and what we're trying to figure out here. But now all the questions are on the table. People are starting to ask for Patricia to be fired now. You don't want that 9 weeks in. You could have come in and been 5-4. You could have been, looking better instead of being 3-6 and getting your tail kicked in the last 3 weeks. That's all we're saying is make the easy plays look easy and try and put your team in the best position. Unfortunately, now the question is, what the fuck are you doing Monday through Saturday? It doesn't seem like it's anything that's producing results on Sunday. What the fuck is going on?
It's just that they don't look competent out there. It's like you said. You said they don't look competent, and they don't. This game right here was the most
ass backwards way of watching football.
It was backwards. But it was the most Matt Pad Stafford game ever, right?
Of course.
Look, Chicago comes out and they light you up. They are up 26-0 before you decide that you want to start to play. On top of that, Chicago missed 2 extra points and 2 field goals. And they were gimmies. Gimmies! So you really and truly, you could have been down, 34-0? And next thing you know, you decide you want to start to play. Well, hey, guess what? Chicago's taking the second half off, and you still can't catch up.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Everybody's frustrated and everybody's upset because of a couple things, all right? And this goes back to Bob Quinn. I think Bob Quinn really and truly set Matt Patricia up, set him up to fail. Bob Quinn came out when he fired Jim Caldwell and said, this is a team that is expected to make the playoffs. We are expecting this team to make the playoffs, and we need to be better than 9-7. And we should be better than 9-7.
But look, cuz Bob Quinn doesn't talk to the media. He will come out and say, in so many words, that once we evaluated how this season was going to go, selling Golden Tate signified giving up on 2018.
It's
but
cool.
The problem is,
and I thought that was a smart move. I thought it was a smart move to give up Golden Tate because you were going to lose him. You weren't going to bring him back. He wants $16 million. He's probably in the range of a $10 to $12 million player, but he was a difference maker on this team. He was a locker room leader, and he kept Matt Stafford on pace.
He will come out and he will acknowledge that 9-7 statement was one in which he said, it's not good enough because our overall goal, big time, will be to see who wants to be here and in the future getting to the postseason.
That's cool. He can spin it however he wants.
Yeah, he's going to try and spin it.
He can spin it however he wants. I know what he said. I heard what he said because I remember looking at you being like, well, that's interesting. So now the demand going forward is we've got to make the playoffs. And we started looking at the schedule. And we're like, is there any chance this team's going to make the playoffs? I mean, this is Matt Patricia's first year. We don't even know what the hell we have as a head coach. How is he going to make the playoffs? And he comes out, makes that statement. Fine. Dandy. Cool. That's what you want. Those are your expectations. I applaud you for having those expectations.
Yes.
That's good. I like that as an organization that you say, hey, look, it's here or it's bust. Great. Awesome. Then you go into the draft. And when we were doing our draft coverage, we said the defense is porous. It's got holes everywhere. You got a safety who's not really sure if he wants to come back and play. What are we talking about here? You got a guy who you might franchise tag. Boy, would that be stupid if you did that because that's going to tie up $17 million, and he hasn't been healthy in like 3 years. So what do? You go out, you franchise tag that guy. That wasn't good because he's missed almost the entire season so far. I think he's only played like 50 snaps all season. Let that sink in. 50 snaps for $17 million. If somebody's out there who's really good at math, figure out how much he's getting paid per snap. Roughly 50 snaps, could be more. I'll do some research here. $17.1 million. Let me know. Get back at me. All right? So you franchise tag that guy. Don't address your defense in the draft, but you're like, cool, let's build a run game. You've totally retooled the offensive line the last, 3 years you've retooled it? You've been working on putting pieces in place to get it better. Now, TJ Lang hasn't worked out. He's one concussion away from being, having Alzheimer's. Ricky Wagner's been atrocious. All right, Graham Glasgow, I really like. I don't care what anybody says. I really like him. The Ragnow pick, that looks like it worked out. Decker's been better. It's good. Cool. So roughly 3/5 of your line is decent. You went out and you got your running back. But you don't play your running back. You don't give him enough touches. Now, your running back looks like he could be really, really special. So special, in fact, that he's been in discussions for Rookie of the Year. Mind you, there's a guy who went 28, 29, 30-some guys ahead of him who's leading for Rookie of the Year, who does all kinds of things really, really well for a team who's a complete hot mess. And that would be Saquon Barkley. All right? You probably have the second best running back out of these rookies that have come into the league this year, yet you don't want to give this guy the ball. Mind you, you haven't addressed your defense yet. How do you keep the other team off the field? You run the football. Running the ball keeps the other team off the field. You keep the ball away from them. Wouldn't it make sense to give your guy who looks like he might be an elite running back, give him as many touches as you possibly can? Wouldn't that make sense? I don't know. Seems like it makes sense to me. I'm just spitballing here, people. I'm not really sure. Seems like it would make a lot of sense to me. Yet, you decree that making the playoffs is the only thing that will be acceptable. Yet, you've not won a damn thing. Every single week, you do things to shoot yourself in the foot. Your head coach looks like he is totally outclassed and outpaced. You realize he went up against a rookie head coach last week with Matt Nagy? Matt Nagy ran a train on him. If I was in the press conference, I would have loved to have asked Matt Patricia how his butt feels. Because Matt Nagy just rode him raw and dry.
All right, I got to ask you, because we're looking at the Detroit Lions, and now, in totality, people are bringing their entire history watching the Lions. I don't think people expected 3-6. I don't think people expected that the Detroit Lions in the last 3 games would get dominated in several aspects of the game, offense, defense, special teams. People wouldn't expect that nothing would have gotten better.
Dude, they look like they're totally outclassed in every single aspect of football right now. It's like they're just learning how to play.
So with that said, you got people now that are claiming they're jumping off the bandwagon, they're joining support for other teams. I got to ask you, why are we Lions fans? What is it that keeps us supporting an organization that in totality, hope, is something where you look at it and you go, man, a lot of people have a right to lose hope that this team will ever win. I mean, we were sitting around watching Monday Night Football going, man, are our kids going to see a winner? We're starting to maybe entertain the notion that you and I could both croak and die before the Lions ever win a Super Bowl. And now we're starting to talk about, damn, do the kids have a chance to see the Lions win anything? Why are we Lions fans at this point in time in 2018?
I don't understand why we're a Lions fan. I mean, every single week, all they do is they just drop a Cleveland steamer on us. You know what I'm saying? It's awesome getting shit on your chest. It's great. It's amazing. Ask every Lions fan. They'll tell you about it. I don't know. I really don't know. And, I go back and forth about this because I don't have kids yet. And at some point, I'm going to have kids. At least I hope so. Maybe my wife lets me stick it in. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure what her plan is. At this point, just a lot of knuckle children and drain babies. But beside the point, I don't know if I want them to be a Lions fan. Like, I don't know why my dad did this to me. And I'm kind of pissed off at him for doing it to me. I'm serious. You giggle and you laugh, but I'm really mad at him for doing this to me. Like, there's a million other teams I could have been a fan of, yet I'm a Detroit Lions fan. Yet I get my heart ripped out every single week by this organization that really doesn't seem like they care. I don't know why we're Lions fans. I don't know if it's because of proximity, because we live near the city or we live in the city, or if it's because this is some form of child abuse because your father was like, hey, I'm a Lions fan, you're going to be a Lions fan, and then your kids will be Lions fans, and then we'll all be in the pit of misery, dilly dilly. I'm not really sure if that's how it works. I mean, you've got 2 girls. And I know at least one of them, I think both of them, I know they both really love you, but I know one of them is like your shadow, okay? Is she a Lions fan? Did you make her a Lions fan?
Not yet. They don't watch sports like that. No.
Okay. You have a nephew, and you're really close with your nephew. You do a lot with your nephew.
Yes.
Is he a Lions fan?
Yes, but he's more of a Tigers fan. So thank goodness he's more of a baseball guy.
Okay.
So he's more invested like that. He'll watch the Lions and hopes they win, but he likes what he is. He's good at shit talking, and he pokes me at being now a Michigan supporter. He goes back and forth.
Okay.
Basically, he bandwagons the college teams, and so right now he's on the Michigan bandwagon.
Bandwagons the college
It's
teams.
okay. He's 8. He bandwagons the college.
Yet.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 years ago he was a Spartan guy because they were winning. Now he's a Michigan supporter, and now looking at the pro teams, he's definitely all in for the Tigers. He loves them. He's a bless you boys kind of guy, loves the Detroit Tigers. But with the Lions, he's definitely down to throw some they suck and things like that. So he's not exactly loyal yet to the Detroit Lions, and I can understand why. He definitely is aware that they have sucked for quite a while.
Who made him a Lions fan, or who basically made the Lions relevant in his life? Was it you? Was it Tony?
Yep, both of us.
So
did.
it was you. It was both you guys.
Both of us, yeah.
So both of you deserve to be cursed and go to hell later on in life.
Yes.
So maybe that's why. Maybe all of us need to take a deep look at ourselves, all right, and then look at our fathers or look at our mothers and be like, "The hell did you do to me? What the hell did you like?" My mom is not a Lions fan at all. She'll be the first to. She hates Matt Stafford. She talks so much shit about Matt Stafford. I feel like a Stafford defender because I'm like, Mom, like, do you hear what you're saying? Like, what you're saying makes no sense. She was like, he's fat, he's pudgy, he sucks, he's horrible. It's like, he's really not horrible, and he's lost a lot of weight. His body's getting in really good shape. I've seen the guy in person. He's like leaned out a lot. She's like, I don't give a shit. He's horrible. Okay, cool. Well, what makes him horrible? He throws all kinds of interceptions. Okay, he does throw quite a few interceptions, but he's gotten better at that. He's getting a lot better. And this is how the conversation goes. She's not a Lions fan. She hopes they burn in hell. She wants my father to go there and burn in hell with them, right? But my dad, the degenerate that he is, this is the only reason I can figure out why I'm a Lions fan is because of growing up watching these games with him. Mind you, this guy, my dad, generally roots for them to lose every single game they play now. But when I was a kid, it was different. So I think it's because of my father.
Rod got in on Twitter when we asked the question. He said, they rep Detroit. Unfortunately, they embarrass more than they impress. It's tough, but hopefully one day they will get their shit together. And so that's where I'm at with it, is that, look, we're all suffering together. And in the moment, in the time where maybe they have a good year, maybe a 13-3 year, a couple playoff wins, we can then let go of the curse, let go of all the bad memories. But at this point in time, my support's not teetering. I just am very hypercritical of the Lions because of what they do. They don't look professional and things like that. But I'm not jumping off the bandwagon. I am a Lions guy. I will always support the Lions. It's the Detroit Lions. Now, what are they known for? They're known for mediocrity. They're known for garbage. And that sucks, but I'm not pledging my allegiance to another team outside of Detroit ever in any sport. But can we be critical? Can we maybe demand better? Can we demand that people get fired? Yes, of course. That doesn't mean that I'm not a fan of the Lions. You're lucky I give attention with the following that I have to the Lions. And you know what? It's given back. And so, don't judge me for what kind of fan I am. I don't want to kiss butt. I don't want to be like, oh, okay, let's just wait another 5 years for Stafford and go, let's wait for 15 years. And the notion is, damn, and I think I've messaged you, is the suffering going to be worse and hurt worse, and all the yelling and cussing and screaming that we've done? 1,000 podcasts and 980 of them have been all bad about the Lions. Is the toxicity of the Lions going to be let go of when they do win? I don't know, because it could be bumpy the rest of this year. If they lose to Carolina and Chicago, it's going to be toxic. We're going to get the bags back. It's going to be bad.
If they lose to Arizona...
Oh, they're not losing to Arizona. Come on.
Are you sure?
Arizona, Buffalo?
Are you sure? Look,
man,
David Johnson looked really good last week. I'm just saying. And Matt Barkley apparently figured out how to throw a football.
Oh, boy.
Stop trying to throw it like a baseball and realize this thing is oblong. Ooh. And LaShawn McCoy figured out how to run. And what's been the crux of this defense? We can't stop the run. You got you've got 1.5 elite running backs here, because I don't think LaShawn McCoy is all that elite anymore.
I'm going to say this, though. What, in all of Detroit sports, in all the 5 years that we've talked about the coaches and the struggles, what has not been here? Coaches that have rings. Coaches that are not first-year coaches. Coaches that have experience. There is one out there, and we'll do a deep dive next week because I think it's a fair question. I know it'll be Thanksgiving, and we'll devote some time to it because, yeah, we complain about the Lions, but we got to offer up solutions. I know it's probably going to be, again, bad timing, and he'll end up elsewhere, but John Harbaugh's time in Baltimore seems like it's coming to an end. Now, it just seems like bad timing because I don't think they're going to blow out Matt Patricia after year one, but there's a guy out there that's got rings and been to the playoffs, maybe needs a new change of scenery. Maybe could come in here and handle business. But I do think if it doesn't work with Matt Patricia, I think it's time that Martha Ford blows both Bob Quinn out and Matt Patricia. I'm not ready to say that yet. I do have confidence that some of the talent that's being drafted here has been productive, but Bob Quinn definitely has to do a better job of entire draft classes producing. And I do think it'll get better, but will it get better to the level of championships? I don't know. Matt Patricia's got a lot to learn. He better fucking learn it real fast because the way in which his first 9-10 games have gone have been absolutely terrible. It's not acceptable, and it's okay to be honest. It's okay to say, hey, you know what? There's situations in which things were not done exactly right. It's okay. But when you try to sell that you're professional and you're a rocket scientist and you make mistakes even on field goal execution, it just won't work. It won't work here. It won't work anywhere. So I hope that he does open up and become more real because you see the semblance of a guy that can talk his way through things, but it's just repetitive and nonsensical. When you just got to be open and honest because your team's getting their ass kicked. They're not going out there. Like I said, it's not the talent. It's not that. It's that when they go out there, they're not performing at the level that it should be, and it's unacceptable. But we'll talk about it. Should maybe the Lions be even more bold and say, look, if it's a 3-13 year and it gets worse, maybe then you blow out Matt Patricia, you bring in John Harbaugh, and maybe you have a change in regime. But I think right now, the thing that we all want is to kind of be ahead of the curve. Stop following everybody else. I mean, you go out and you get the best defensive coach in a league where offense is killer. It's really tough. I think that the Bears have done a better job than you have in the rebuild, and we got to talk about it. We didn't get to it this week, but I don't know. I'm not sure Stafford is checked out, but losing and getting your ass kicked has to take a toll on you. I don't think he wants out.
Everybody says. They're like, oh, his body language says he's checked out. I don't think he's checked out. I think he's frustrated, and I get why he's frustrated. I mean, shoot, you get sacked, 11 times against Minnesota and 6 against
can't be happy.
Chicago? I mean,
and everybody now
takes a toll on you.
And everybody now is talking about getting rid of him, and his colleagues across the NFL are ripping on him. It's got to be tough. All right, we'll finish this podcast with one voicemail from Dr. Dre. He got in with some complaints, and if you have liked what you've heard or not liked what you've heard, feel free. Leave us a voicemail anytime at 248 579-8686, or you can get a direct line to us via Twitter at Detroit Podcast, or message Adam at AdamRSTROZ. If you definitely love radio, he's on the WDFN tailgate every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Let's it rip. Great stuff there at the iHeart app, and I listen every week, and they got great texters, interaction, and great topics. Adam and Ryan do a great job on WDFN.
You know who's the best? Lebanese beefcake is
great
so
texter.
much fun.
Fun texter.
So much fun. That guy, that guy always has something fun to say.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. You listen to Doc and Jock. Support the network for free. Go check out DetroitSportsPodcast.com. If you're going to start a brand new podcast, support another sponsor of ours, go check out Podomatic.com. Thanks to the great sponsors of this podcast. I want to thank the sponsors that make this podcast happen, the Motor City Pawnbrokers and Podomatic. See everybody next week.
This is Dr. Dre calling in. Pathetic Lions. Stafford has to go. He can't take this team to the next level. He has no intensity. This team lacks effort. They constantly are always playing from behind. I'm fed up. I'm sure a lot of people in Detroit are fed up. But this team, we are worse off with Patricia. He seems, for the last 3 games, he seems to be not ready. He doesn't seem to get this team ready. So I'm fed up. I don't have any answers. They stink. We need to look forward to next year. Pathetic. We're already thinking about the draft. Lions blow. Again. Dr. Dre. Peace.
Thanks, John. I just hope I don't fuck this up.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. It didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.